AITA for embarrassing my mom when I corrected her friend who thought my daughter was my little sister. My daughter Ava is 4 years old. Had her young. My girlfriend passed away when my daughter was a baby, so I'm mostly on my own taking care of her. Before pandemic I used to leave Ava at daycare, but since it's closed and not safe for her to be out, I started paying my mom to watch her weekdays when I work. My mom told me a month ago this lady just moved in a few houses down and she comes over to chat. I never met her until Friday when I got off work early and went to pick up my daughter. Ava was playing in the backyard, so we stayed longer. Then her neighbor friend came and my mom introduced us. The lady commented that it's so sweet I still make time to visit my mom and play with my little sister. I looked at my mom confused and thought she would have corrected the lady, but she was just standing there smiling like she agreed. So I told her she's my daughter actually. She was just as confused as I was, but she just went, oh. My mom, I guess, tried to save face saying she loves my daughter like her own, so it's easy to forget. Anyways, it was awkward, so I just got Ava and we went home. I have this week off, so not taking her to my mom's place. My mom called earlier because she's mad her friend isn't talking to her much. Before she came over every day and now she hasn't come since Friday. My mom said her friend assumed Ava was her daughter when they first met and she was embarrassed to admit she's her grandma because she didn't want the lady thinking bad about her. She says I didn't have to ruin it for her and it didn't hurt anyone to let her think that. We ended up arguing. My mom's mad I embarrassed her and now she might have lost a new friend. I'm mad she'd lie about something like that and didn't consider she could be confusing Ava saying stuff like that. She swears she never said anything in front of my daughter, but I'd if I believe that. I get it, some people are gonna judge me for being a young dad or judge her as a parent, so I guess I can see where my mom was coming from. Even if I don't care, they can think what they want. But it did embarrass my mom, so I wanna know if I'm the asshole for saying something about it. I get it, some people are gonna judge me for being a young dad or judge her as a parent. Yeah, and some people are assholes. But not you. NTA. NTA. From your mom's point of view, she can't even pretend to think you intentionally busted her. You had no idea she actively lied. You just thought the neighbor was under the wrong impression and you were clarifying. But of course, your mom actively lied. NTA. Even if your mom had a reasonable request, and pretending that she's mom instead of grandma isn't reasonable, then how can she expect you to know she lied without any sort of heads up? Your mom is being ridiculous. NTA. Your mom should have told the truth. You didn't embarrass her, she embarrassed herself. Your mom reminds me of a professor I had in college. I had some classes with my mom. Different majors but some of the same general requirements. Mum and I both had baby faces and looked a lot younger than we were. At the time we also had the same surname. One of the professors ended up asking if/how we were related. Being no reason to lie, we told her the truth. She was my mum. The professor freaked out and insisted that we should tell people we're sisters because it was nicer. That day she started telling everyone in the department that we were sisters. When it got back to us and we told the truth, she blew up at us, insisting she'd done us a favor by telling people we were siblings and we had no right to embarrass her by telling the truth. Wow, that is insane. Flushed face. Some NXT level shit right there. This is funny too. In my first semester of college I took a science class and there was a girl whose mom was also taking it. I remember because her mom took the best notes and would share it with us. Smiley face. AITA for not reassuring my boyfriend I was fine after he didn't help me after my car broke down by his house. I was driving to the store and my car crapped out on me. Turns out the alternator failed and the engine stalled out. I pulled over to the side of a remote road. It was cold out and I wasn't dressed for the weather without the car's heater. Dumb of me to not wear a warmer coat or think to put a blanket in my car for the winter just in case. But it was supposed to be a quick errand. I called my boyfriend who lived very close to where I was broken down, and he didn't pick up. I texted him saying I was broken down and I needed a ride. Could he help? He said no, he had a friend visiting. I said it was freezing cold and I needed to get out of the cold fast because the car heat was broken too. He said, can't you ask a friend? This is a bad time. I called a friend who was 35 minutes away and he got on the road right away, and we made plans to have his brother who works for a towing company get it for cheap the next day as a favor. We hung out for a few hours and then I went to bed early. I accidentally left my phone in his car, so when he left he took it along. The next morning I couldn't find my phone and sent an email to my friend to ask if he'd seen it. He replied and said he found it in his car and he could bring it back on the weekend. I thanked him and apologized for making him make the trip twice. Anyway, I worked through the day and only checked my social media after the workday. I saw some panicked messages from my boyfriend on my Facebook asking what had happened. I didn't answer his texts for 24 hours after the last thing I sent was, "Can you please come pick me up? It's freezing cold and I need to get out of the cold fast. Car here is broken," and I wasn't picking up my phone or answering texts or social media messages. Then he went for a drive and found my car abandoned in the dirt off the side of the road. He was convinced I had been ignoring him to spite him for not leaving right away to get me. He hasn't realized how serious it was. And he had expected if I had trouble getting a friend to help I'd call him and tell him I didn't have another option. I said I wasn't being petty, I was just trying to deal with my own shit when my car crapped out on me. And I honestly wasn't thinking about him at all after he brushed off me asking for help. He said that I was stupid for not thinking that he'd be worried to be ghosted for a day after saying I was in trouble. AITA for not telling my boyfriend I was okay after he didn't want to help me after my car crapped out. Edit, I broke things off. Seriously, thank you to everyone who commented and told me this shit wasn't normal or okay. Thought I'd feel bad ending things because I really wanted things to work out, but honestly I feel like there's a huge weight off my shoulders. You didn't ghost him. He ghosted you. After you called him for help and he said no, he had plenty of time to call you during the 35 minutes it took your friend to come to you, the time it took for you and your friend to figure out what to do. His brother will do you a favor. The time it took to drive you home. I don't know if you have a phone at home though that he could have contacted you. And after he flaked out on you in a potentially hazardous situation, he wanted you to apologize to him. WTF? And he made up excuses as to why he's on the right side. Again, WTF? He sounds so very immature. You deserve better. NTA. Edited typo. He could also have driven over to her house to check on her. NTA, but he is first for the "no I can't help you, it's a bad time, can't you call a friend?" and second for calling _you stupid for not thinking he'd be worried. He showed you how much he cared when he refused to help you. He doesn't get to be arsey about it later. And, just wondering, do you really want to keep this boyfriend when he prioritizes visiting friend over going to help stranded GF in freezing cold, then makes out like it's you being the problem here? NTA. And an emergency, and the reply is no, I have a friend visiting, triangular flag on post, and find someone else, triangular flag on post. My husband is the store manager of a store. There have been times he has had to be there by himself. If I called him and said that to him, he would lock the doors regardless of how busy he was and rush to my aid. I can't believe that he told up to deal with it. Shocked. NTA. So when I was dating this guy that I thought was going to be the one, who ended up cheating on me, my car blew a tire on the side of the road. I called my parents to help me out instead of him. After he cheated, my mom asked me about that incident and said, "Why didn't you call your boyfriend?" That was a moment that I realized that I never actually felt like I could really rely on him to be there for me. It was also a moment I realized that it's a deal breaker for me. So you need to take a look at this seriously and ask, will this guy be there for you? And is this a deal breaker? Shitty, honestly it is feeling like it would mean getting into a lot more than the post, but he's seemed really selfish other times too, and yeah. AITA for telling my kids what their grandfather did to me. I've been with my husband since high school and his dad has always made me uncomfortable. Phil adores, borderline worships, his wife and is very cold to everyone else. I always thought the family dynamic was a bit weird, but everyone else was nice. Mill is questionable, but I love his siblings. I got pregnant right out of high school and we needed financial help. Around the same time Mill was diagnosed with late-stage cancer and the prognosis was not great. Phil was devastated. I mean, he pretty much stopped speaking to anyone but her. Mill has always been vain and she had a nervous breakdown when she started avoid losing her hair. They are well off and she had the best wigs money could buy. I guarantee most people didn't know she was wearing a wig, but it was very hard on her. I have long blonde hair, as did she. Apparently my hair was triggering her, so Phil told me it had to go. I told him that was unfair. He told me I could cut it or be homeless. I agreed and he took scissor and cut it off. I wasn't expecting him to just do it like that and it looked terrible. That was 10 years ago. Phil did make it, though it was a long road. All of Phil's kids view him as a hero because he took such good care of her, but I still hold a lot of resentment. My kids are not allowed around them without me or my husband present. The kids are pretty indifferent to Phil but adore Mill and recently were questioning why they can't have sleepovers like their cousins do. I was honest about what he did and why I don't trust him. My kids ended up calling Mill and Phil and confronting them. Phil made excuses and made it all about her. My 8-year-old daughter got very upset and said that she doesn't want to see them anymore. Mill swore at me, kids weren't present, and said I poisoned them against her. I said that her own husband's actions did that. Mill isn't talking to me currently and accused me of making fun of her cancer. She always plays the victim when she is cornered, but for the most part people are on my side. NTAO, my god, fairy tale villains have time traveled to the future. Seriously, an evil mother figure who's jealous of the daughter figure's beauty, an abusive father figure who torments a girl for being voted AI fucked up, traumatic haircutting against your will. They're from the Middle Ages. You told your kids the truth, and they made their own, right, judgment. As they get older, they'll find it more disgusting. Haircutting against someone's will is a very intimate, damaging, personal violation with all sorts of implications we won't go into here. If they both think it is fair and right, why should they care you told your kids? Haven't they proudly told everyone themselves? How they bravely cut a woman's hair despite her objections because the evil witch was jealous. They're not bragging about it? No, because they know it was wrong. You don't want people to think you're evil, don't do bad things. I'm so sorry you went through that. Congratulations on having the clarity and resolve to see them for what they are and to protect your kids from them. Don't give your kids any reason to think that's an appropriate way to act when you're jealous. If they both think it is fair and right, why should they care you told your kids? It always amazes me when people 1. Defend their actions as the only righteous way, and yet 2. Get super upset when someone makes those actions public. Sorry, you can't have it both ways. Glad most people are siding with you, good for you for telling your kids, and very NTA. NTA, just one question. Where was your husband in all this? Those are his parents. Didn't he ask why your hair was short all of a sudden? Or did he know and let his father threaten you? He was at work. They got into it when he came home, but Phil just threatened to make us homeless and he backed down. NTA. Wow, what he did to you was horrible. He took away your autonomy and threatened to make you homeless if you didn't give it up. Honestly, you should go North Carolina. I would have if I could with just him, but Mill didn't know. Her shock was very real when she heard what he did almost a year later. NTA, first things first. Cutting someone's hair against their will is considered assault for a reason. The psychological damage is very real. It's been treated as a criminal punishment in many cultures for decades for a reason. What he did was a form of abuse and bullying. Secondly, the kids had a right to know what kind of person their grandfather is. My dad was very honest with us when we got old enough to ask certain questions about his relationship with his dad. I'm glad he was, because when those behaviors began to appear towards us we were prepared for it. Mill sounds vain but okay. Phil sounds like a cruel person and can't be trusted to act in the best interest of anyone but his wife.